He is a shepherd boy from a village at the edge of the realm, yet when he stands before a beast of terrifying power, there is not a trace of fear on his face. With nothing more than a crack of his whip, he fells the mighty leopard monster right where it stands. It was when I was 10 years old that I first discovered I had this power. Back then, I could barely wait to tell my mother that I could make pieces of wood fly through the air, and not only that, I could summon fire and conjure wind. But the moment she heard all this, she flew into a rage, the first and last time I ever saw her truly angry. Once her anger slowly faded, she called me to her side for a serious talk. She asked me if I wanted to keep living by her side. If I did, she wanted me to promise her that I would never use this power again starting that day, and never let anyone else find out about it. When I asked her why, Mom asked if I still remembered the stories about the nobles and the knights. I told her of course I did. She then told me that whether one was a noble or a knight, anyone who possessed this special power was called a wizard. But nobles and knights were fundamentally different. Nobles were descendants of the Freyans, a sacred people who once descended upon this world to save humanity in ages past. Knights, meanwhile, were those of mixed blood, descendants of nobles whose lineage had merged with that of ordinary humans. That was why, even among wizards, the distinction between nobles and knights still existed. And that was exactly why she needed to tell me that I must never use this power, because I had inherited my father's power as a knight. Beyond this village there were many cruel nobles, and to them, knights were nothing more than slaves. So I had to remember this. I must never let anyone know that I was a wizard. You can promise me that, can't you? 8 full years have passed since that day, and I have kept my word to her all this time. Then one day, a young man in the village tells an elder that a monster has been spotted near the outskirts. The creature is shrouded in shadow, like a leopard the size of a house. The villagers are deeply unsettled, but the village chief has already gone to town to find a wizard. Once he brings one back, the monster will surely be dealt with. Hearing this, the elder warns them to be careful. Without a wizard, killing a monster is next to impossible. The young man says they have already warned everyone in the village, but there is one person they have not told yet. The elder is puzzled. Who is this person? The young man answers, Turan, the shepherd who lives up on Mount Hisariel. At this moment, I am lying on a stretch of lush, green grass, staring up at the pale blue sky with nothing on my mind. The same view as always, the same life, day after day. If this keeps up, I might forget how to hold a conversation. And just as that thought starts to ache in my head, a voice reaches me. You poor little wretch. The sun has not even set and you are already slacking off? When I see who it is, I wave him off. Stop blocking my sunlight. He scowls and says I have no manners. Are you still holding a grudge about what happened back then? What happened back then? I shoot back. You mean when my mother passed away and you tried to seize her flock, claiming it was village property? He clears his throat twice but offers no defense. So I go on. If that is what you mean, then yes, I still remember. I am not generous enough to hand over my mother's belongings, and we are certainly not close enough for pleasantries, so say what you came to say and get out. His face tightens like he wants to snap back at me, but my cold stare stops him cold. He looks away and tells me a monster has appeared near the village. Apparently a leopard the size of a house. Rop was the one who spotted it. I show no sign of alarm. I just reach down and pat the lamb beside me and say, that is quite the problem. He looks baffled. Aren't you scared? You are the most likely target out here. I have no idea where you get the nerve. Anyway, the chief has gone to town for a wizard. Just be careful. I came to warn you because I was worried about you. The moment the words leave his mouth, I tell him he is a terrible liar. Why not just say you are worried about the sheep instead of pretending it is me you care about? But since you have said your piece, get out of here. That foul mouth of yours is already polluting the air. Fuming, the old man turns and storms back the way he came. In this world, the creatures that earn the name monster are beasts that wield mysterious power and magic. If humans have wizards, then the beasts have monsters. A wizard coming all the way to this backwater village because of a monster. It seems I will finally get to see one with my own eyes. But if it's the village chief who hired them, they likely won't be anyone special, even if they are wizards. Still, I want to see them with my own eyes. Just then my nose catches something in the air. That scent is blood. I follow the smell. When I reach the source, I find the old man I had just spoken to, dead. He came to warn me, and ended up the one who got hit. The wounds do not look like the work of an ordinary animal. It has to be the monster he mentioned. Then I sense movement around me. As it draws closer, I see it. The leopard monster that Labus described, as large as a house. Inside one of the houses, a child asks his father, are grown-ups really no match for that monster? His father says yes. Ordinary people like us would not even leave bones behind. The child looks up anxiously. Then what will happen to our village? His father gives him a gentle pat. Don't worry, the chief will bring back a wizard. Wizards can deal with monsters. But the child tilts his head in confusion. Are wizards definitely able to beat that monster? Of course, his father says. They are born with the power of magic. They are extraordinary beings. A single word from them can wipe out the most terrifying monster. Meanwhile, I stand perfectly still, watching the ferocious leopard monster before me. I mutter a single word under my breath, and the leopard lurches back several meters, because in that brief instant, it sensed something from me, the aura of a predator. Watching it, I murmur to myself, so it doesn't work anymore? Then it lunges at me again, ferocious as ever. I bellow, stop! The leopard flinches back another several meters at my voice. That settles it. It really has stopped working. Otherwise it would have actually stopped. Just then, the leopard monster swings its razor claws straight down at me, the golden markings on its face twisted with savagery. I sidestep before the blow lands. Watching it rage, I let out a quiet breath. If that is how it is going to be, then I will handle this the shepherd's way. The monster sees me move and coils itself, ready to strike. I whisper to the stone in my left hand, harden, then wrap it tight with the whip in my right. Golden light blazes to life in my eyes. I swing the whip, step forward, and breathe one more word, faster. The moment the whip cracks, the stone tears through the air like a cannonball, hurtling straight at the snarling monster. A thunderous crack, and the stone grazes the leopard's ear, spraying blood through the air. The monster erupts in fury, unleashing every claw and fang as it charges at me. But what I was aiming for was never the ear, it was the skull. In an instant, the stone drives clean through its head. I look at the monster lying dead before me and mutter, that is the first time I have ever used this on a monster. Now, should I drag you off to some ravine or what? I grumble to myself. Those people in the village are such a headache. After dealing with everything, I head back to my home up on the mountain. Because of the promise I made to my mother, I have never told anyone I am a wizard. Never used my power in front of others. Just as I am about to rest, there is an urgent pounding at my door. Turan! Turan! Someone calling my name over and over. The moment I open it, I find a crowd of villagers glaring at me. They have come about Labus. I let out a yawn and ask without flinching, what, are you here to accuse me of killing Labus? Before I even finish, the burly man leading the group seizes me by the collar and shoves his face into mine. That's right, you piece of filth. You hurt that old man and fed him to the monster. I hold his stare in silence for a moment, then say, I know exactly why you're trying to frame me. You were too afraid to fight, so you ran, and the oldest man in the village paid for it. Now you are terrified of looking like cowards, so you are pinning it on me. Livid with rage, the man draws back his fist, ready to beat me senseless. But I casually step out of the way, my expression never wavering for a second. For me, magic is simply the most convenient way to settle things. When I want something badly enough, it happens. At the cost of mana, I murmur one word, fall, and someone in the crowd goes down. Dealing with people like these does not require fire magic or any great show of force. A subtle nudge of power is more than enough. It ensures their survival, while putting them firmly in their place. And this is how, over these 8 long years, the way I have hidden what I truly am. I look at them sprawled across the ground and sigh. You'd be better off saving that breath for Labus's funeral. I turn to the women standing nearby. Are you here to fight too? They quickly wave their hands. No, we just came to check on you. I go quiet for a moment, then tell them to take these idiots home. After clearing up that mess, I start to undress and settle in for the night. I know full well this will stir up trouble in the village again. They will try to squeeze money out of me the next time we do business, but I don't care. I'll just beat them until they settle on a fair price. Just then, a voice interrupts my thoughts. I mutter, have those people lost their minds? Back already? I throw the door open ready to unleash on them, but to my surprise, a middle-aged man stands there instead. I ask who he is. He pauses, then says, sorry to disturb you. I was going to ask for your help along the road, but now doesn't seem like the best time. When I hear he is a wanderer, I go quiet. I offer a brief apology, explaining that I just sent some unwelcome visitors packing and thought they had returned. These words of courtesy were things my mother once taught me. I'm not sure how well I pull them off. Living in this wretched village, I've never really had cause to speak decently to anyone, so the whole thing feels a little awkward. Looking at what he is wearing, I find myself curious. Why would a wanderer carrying a sword come all the way out to a place like this? I ask if he is looking for an inn, and before the words are even out of my mouth, his stomach lets out a long, low growl. I sigh, reluctantly stepping aside to let him in. Once I set some food in front of him, I tell him my home is humble, so I'm afraid there isn't much to offer. He shovels it into his mouth and says between bites, this is already a feast. Then he asks, have you really never met anyone from outside the village? I tell him that's right. I grew up on this mountain, and have been a shepherd my whole life. This town rarely gets visitors from outside. He looks up at me, clearly finding me interesting, because for someone who grew up as a shepherd in a place like this, my manners are surprisingly refined. He compliments my parents, saying they must have raised me well. I tell him it all came from my mother, but she passed away a few years ago. The man pauses and makes a small gesture of prayer, saying, to have raised a son as fine as you, she must be proud of you in heaven. He thanks me again. I tell him I'm only living the way my mother taught me. Then I ask, genuinely curious, what brings you all the way out here to this remote little town? He tells me someone hired him to come deal with a monster that looks like a leopard. The moment I hear that, I go completely still. I ask right away, you must be the wizard the chief mentioned. He confirms it without hesitation. That's right, I am that wizard. May I ask you something? I agree without much hesitation. He tells me he can sense that the monster was in this area, but he cannot detect it anywhere. What puzzles him even more is that I clearly know about both the monster and the chief's plan, yet here I sit, completely calm, not going anywhere. If that monster were targeting humans, you would be the most exposed person out here. Aren't you afraid? For a shepherd who has never left this town, your composure is extraordinary. So who exactly are you? Are you a wizard? His words take me back to when my mother was still alive. Back then I asked her why no one could ever know I was a wizard, and she told me it was because of the cruel nobles. If nobles are like shepherds, then knights are like the dogs they keep. They may love you like family, but when the time comes, they will sell you or throw you away without a second thought. So mom doesn't want that life for you. Turan, do you want to keep living like this? Just the two of us? If you do, then remember this. Never let anyone find out you are a wizard, especially other wizards. If they find out, they will tear us apart. They will turn you into their hunting dog and discard you the moment you are no longer useful. To keep from being recognized as a wizard, there may come a day when you are forced to take a life. The man asks again, why have you gone quiet. Was my joke just now a bit much? He scratches the back of his head with an awkward laugh. I stay quiet for a moment, then offer an apology. I do not really have a sense of humor. He shakes his head and says the apology should be his. Sorry for making such a joke at your expense. I manage a small smile and tell him that is the first time a wizard has ever joked with me, so I was caught off guard. He laughs and says my reaction was just too entertaining. He could not help himself, though perhaps he went a little too far. He reaches out his hand and says, we have been talking this whole time and I still have not introduced myself properly. A pleasure to meet you. I am Cain, a wandering wizard. I reach out and take his hand. I tell him my name is Turan and I am a shepherd. I am 18. When he hears my age, he offers his own. 75. I tell him he does not look it. He says wizards live a little longer than ordinary people and age a little slower. I ask him why he became a wanderer. He tells me that after 60 years of service to House Arabian, he chose to walk away. He wanted to spend his later years drifting from place to place, with no ties and no fixed home. And so we sit and trade stories with each other. It is the most enjoyable conversation I have had in my entire life. Before long, the light outside has faded to evening. Cain rises to his feet and says it is time for him to head out. He sets a coin on the table. He tells me it is an Arabian silver coin, one of the purest in circulation, more than enough to cover the meal. I stand and thank him. May your hunt go well. He stops at the door and turns back. I will probably be around for a few more days, so I may come back and freeload a few more meals. A few days later, I let the flock out as usual, and once they have eaten and drunk their fill, I call out, gather up, and the sheep all lift their heads at once, and drift toward me. I still feel the warmth from yesterday's conversation. It is the first time I have ever met a wizard, and the first time I have ever enjoyed talking with someone so much. An ease and humor always flow through his words. He possesses a polish and sophistication that none of the adults in the village can match, and over these few days of talking I realize he is genuinely a good person. I used to think knights were nothing more than emotionless hunting dogs trained by arrogant nobles. That makes it a little hard to figure out how to tell him. There is no monster left on Mount Hisariel. Meanwhile, Cain is out searching for the monster's trail, but something is off. There are clear signs of a battle here, yet he cannot sense a single trace of presence. Has the monster already been killed? Then who did it? Did the chief hire another wizard besides him? He lets out a quiet breath of relief. He doesn't care who killed it. What matters is that this place is safe. But then something catches his senses. He spins around, and a razor-sharp claw tears into view. Its owner is a grotesque monster, its skull split open by a massive wound, jagged fangs growing out along the gash. Cain stares, unsettled. A monster's wraith. Who in the world left it like this? Before he can even finish the thought, the wraith's claws drive straight at him and crash into the spot where he was standing with a bone-shaking slam. Cain thinks, why didn't whoever killed this monster absorb or dispel the mana left in the corpse? Any wizard who hunts monsters should know to do that, so why leave the body to become a wraith? Or is he just a rookie knight who didn't know that leaving a corpse's mana unabsorbed would turn it into a wraith? Or maybe they had other intentions entirely. Either way, he has to destroy it now. A gleaming golden sword materializes in Cain's grip, and he drives it straight at the wraith. But the moment it makes contact, the sword shatters to dust. Cain is stunned. His magic, useless. Does this wraith's mana actually surpass his own? In the next instant, the wraith vanishes completely. Cain sweeps his eyes across the surroundings. Where did it go? Then bubbles begin to rise from beneath Cain's own shadow, and a savage claw reaches up out of the darkness below him. Cain reacts just in time before the strike lands. He looks at the wound on his hand, shaken. This is not something an ordinary knight could handle. At minimum, a low-ranking noble would be needed to have any real chance against it. Never did he expect to encounter a wraith of this level in a remote mountain village like this. Life truly is full of surprises. He lowers his head, jaw set. He will not go down quietly. If I die, I am taking you with me. He pours every last drop of mana into his palm, waiting for the wraith to lunge, so he can drive straight into its vital point. But just as the wraith's claw tears free, and he readies his most powerful strike, at that razor's edge of a moment, a flash of blue light bursts through the trees, and drives clean through the wraith's skull. Cain stares breathless. That terrifying wraith, just like that, it is gone. Then a voice reaches him. Are you alright? When he sees it's me, he lets out a quiet breath. The joke about the shepherd being a wizard wasn't a joke after all. So Turan, are you a wizard? I reel in my whip and confirm it. He wants to know why I did not tell him sooner. I say nothing, so he changes the question. Why did you help me? You could have just walked away. I murmur to myself, it must be because I'm too kind-hearted. I think back to a conversation we had before. I asked him why he went so far out of his way. With his abilities, he could earn far more money with far less effort. Why agree to come all the way out here and hunt a monster for a village chief? He laughed and said, those people have nothing. Living somewhere this isolated, stripped of even basic protection, it's nothing short of a tragedy. At that, I chimed in, telling him it wasn't his fault. But he said wizards are people who inherited the power of the divine by nature, so it falls on them to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Not every wizard sees it that way, he admitted, but he believed a person has to have their own convictions, their own way of living. I echo it back to him. A person has to have their own convictions, their own way of living. Just then, the wraith that had collapsed lurches up and hurls itself at us. We dodge the blow, and he tells me to listen carefully. This wraith is in a completely different league from us. Only a noble would stand a chance against it. He wants me to go warn the chief and get everyone evacuated immediately. He will stay and hold it here. He knows it was a bold claim and has no idea how long he can last, but he plants his feet all the same. Then I say, it's alright, and I push my mana forward. He stares at me, stunned. That last strike was not even my full strength. A young knight living in seclusion seclusion on a mountain, capable of hunting a wraith that would make even a noble think twice? This is what runs through the Night Kane's mind. Because what he is witnessing is not the bluster of some mountain boy, nor the recklessness of a young knight on the run from nobles. What he is looking at right now may be the beginning of something that turns the world of wizards upside down. One by one, the stones scattered across the ground begin to rise, lifted slowly into the air by my mana. And for the first time, I feel an urgent need to know, just where are my limits? Kane wastes no time. He refuses to let me fight alone. No matter how gifted I am, this wraith is a formidable opponent. We have to take it on together. But then, with a thunderous bang, he realizes he is only getting in the way. He did not even manage to react to that last attack. Knowing he cannot contribute, Kane makes a decision to let my talent take the stage. As I weave through the wraith's relentless attacks, he calls out, "A wraith cannot be killed by physical force." I shout back, "Then what do I use?" "Fire," he says, "or lightning." The moment he finishes, I summon a surge of flame directly onto the wraith, but it does not even leave a mark. I call out, "That did nothing." It dawns on him, I do not even know the most basic fundamentals of being a wizard. Something clicks in Kane's mind. Was it Turan who killed this monster and left behind the wraith? If so, that means Turan has never absorbed mana in his entire life. He tells me to stop attacking for now. Condense the flame first, then fire it. I hear him, and in an instant, a small fireball takes shape in my palm. I raise my hand toward the sky and the fireball begins to spin rapidly. I step forward with my left foot and hurl the fireball at the wraith with my right hand. A thunderous boom, and the wraith's entire body erupts in a massive blaze. Kane shouts from nearby, "Don't let up, keep pouring mana into it. Burn every last piece of this wraith to nothing." I follow his lead and keep the inferno blazing. Watching it all, Kane finally exhales, "We won." That wraith, the kind that would take at least noble level power to face, has been put down just like that, by a shepherd boy from a forgotten mountain village. He urges me without delay, "If you don't want to deal with another wraith, absorb its mana now." I ask him how. He tells me to stand before the remains and imagine drawing something into myself. I close my eyes slowly and let the image form. A soft green glow rises from the wraith's remains and flows toward my open palm. The moment my eyes open, I feel a surge of something extraordinary flood through every part of me. Kane speaks up behind me. "Feels like a rush through your whole body, doesn't it? Had I not seen it myself, I'd never have believed it. This is really your first time absorbing mana. Mana does grow slowly with age after the first awakening, but the fastest way to get stronger is to hunt monsters or wizards and absorb their mana. That is what makes this so incomprehensible to Kane, that I could command magic of that level without ever having absorbed a single drop of mana. My potential is something else entirely." He calls my name, Turan. "I owe you an apology for my earlier disrespect. If I may ask, which house do you come from?" The word house leaves me puzzled, but even so, I remind him, "Kane, tend to your wounds first." Only when I say it does he remember. His arm is still bleeding steadily. Back at my home, I bandage it for him. He looks embarrassed, unable to understand why someone of my standing would do this for him. I tell him with a tired sigh, "I have said this many times. I am not someone of high standing. I am just a shepherd who does not even know who his father is, so please stop saying that." Caught in my steady glare, he eventually gives in, but he still cannot help wondering, why would a wizard as powerful as me choose to be a shepherd? Not that he means any disrespect, it just seems like a waste. I tell him it was my mother's dying wish. She asked me to live this way right up until the moment she was gone. He looks genuinely surprised, unsure why any mother would make such a request. So I explain it to him in my mother's own words. He listens, and then says, "Your mother made a wise choice." That catches me off guard. I expected him to call it overprotective, but he shakes his head. He tells me, "Wizards carry great power, but power always brings conflict. More than 20 years ago, a great war broke out between several noble houses. The house I served, House Arabian, went to war against House Zahar. Countless people lost their lives. Of the more than 3,000 Arabian knights who fought, over 900 never came home. What made it even more devastating, everyone I was close to was among those 900. My friend always said he would open a laundry when the war was over. My teacher never stopped scolding me, told me I still had so much left to learn, and my wife and my son, all of them slaughtered by House Zahar. I was the only one who made it out. So in a way, your mother was right. A knight's life can end more easily and more meaninglessly than any ordinary person's. But there is one thing she was wrong about, and that is your talent. I'll admit, it might sound like I'm exaggerating in my current state, but I have a pretty sharp memory as a knight, yet compared to you, someone who has never once absorbed mana, I'm nothing. So you should understand by now just how powerful your gift is. At the very least, it's on par with the nobles. And even among nobles, your talent would rank among the finest. This surprises me. Does that mean my father wasn't a knight after all? At that, Kane slowly rises to his feet. In rare cases, a noble can have a child weaker than a knight, and a knight can have a child of noble caliber. So in a sense, I think you should leave this place and see the world beyond. I ask him why. He tells me that humanity needs more nobles and knights, because humans have yet to fully claim dominion over this world. The other races driven out by the gods long ago still wait for their chance to rise again, yet the nobles of today do nothing but fight among themselves. That is exactly why this age desperately needs nobles who are both powerful and compassionate. Nobles like you. And above all else, you're not content with being a shepherd, are you? His words leave me quiet for a moment. Then I ask, what can I find down there? He says it depends entirely on what I want. Wealth, glory, power, family, friendship, none of these are easy to come by up here, are they? Imagine traveling the world as I do, hunting down the monsters that threaten humanity, or become an adventurer who who chases the unknown, or be taken in by a noble house and walk the path of power. Hearing this, something clicks. All of that sounds far more interesting than herding sheep up here. Thank you. You're the first person to make me genuinely curious about the world out there. At that, Cain tells me he will support whatever path I choose. Then he asks what my bloodline ability is. Seeing the confusion on my face, he catches himself. My apologies, I keep forgetting you don't know anything about magic. A bloodline ability is a trait nobles inherit from their ancestors, the Freyans. It's also what distinguishes a noble from a knight. He finishes speaking and conjures a small fireball in his palm, then asks, when you use magic, is there any spell that feels unusually effortless? Or perhaps some ability that feels unique? I run through what he said in my mind. I tell him my sense of smell is exceptionally sharp, and that I can throw stones with remarkable accuracy. He says that if my sense of smell is truly extraordinary, it could very well be a bloodline ability. Mastery of ranged weapons is one of House Arabian's defining traits, though it's actually quite a common one. He presses for more details, and as I answer each one, I notice his expression darken. I ask him what's wrong. He says he might know which house my bloodline most closely resembles. I ask him to tell me. He tells me it is a great house, the ones known as the Trackers, or Hunters. House Zahar, the same house that had once waged war against House Arabian. His words stopped me cold. I never could have imagined that my house could be House Zahar, the house that had killed everyone Cain ever loved. I'm at a loss for words. An apology? But those were the acts of family I've never even met. People who are practically strangers to me. Then he speaks. Tehran, there's no need for that look on your face. You had no part in that war. I know exactly what he's saying, but still, words fail me. He offers that familiar smile of his. That's just how the adult world works. If we answer blood with blood and hatred with hatred, the fighting never ends. I ask him, does he have any doubts about me going down the mountain? He places a hand on my shoulder. If you go down there and pursue power, it's all but inevitable that you'll end up joining House Zahar. After all, your talent is extraordinary. But I trust your character. You saved my life, even at the cost of revealing the identity you'd hidden your whole life. Someone like you, rising to a position of power within House Zahar, might just be enough to stop a terrible war from breaking out again. Don't think too much about it for now, though. You haven't decided to join House Zahar yet. It's then that I tell him I think I've made up my mind. I want to try going down the mountain, but not yet. I'll wait until your wounds heal. He insists it's just a few scratches, but he doesn't turn down my offer. And so, it begins. Every day, Cain teaches me the fundamentals of magic. He tells me that to use magic, one must possess mana, the key to all magic. But even mana comes in different forms. Whatever magic you wish to wield, you need the right kind of mana for it. I ask him what determines compatibility. He explains, magic compatibility comes down to three main factors: bloodline, affinity, and causality. The first, bloodline, is determined by the blood you are born with. This applies to most nobles outside the knight class. Take my wounds, for example. Healing them would be difficult for you, yes? But for those of the Southern Ravista bloodline, it is something they can do effortlessly, even without training. That is the power of bloodline. I take this in, then ask about the second factor, affinity. He rises to his feet. Think of it as how skilled you are with it, and the last, and most important, is causality. It's something even I don't fully understand. What do you think would happen if you tried to kill me with mana alone? I say maybe my head would glow for a moment, and then nothing. He places his hand over a cup. That is precisely what happens when there's no causality behind it. When the desired outcome has no proper cause, or when the goal is simply too difficult to reach, this is what happens. Something clicks. I tell him I think I understand causality now. If I wanted to kill you, instead of wasting mana on a vague wish for your death, I should give it a concrete cause, like burning you to ash with fire. Is that right? Cain can't help but praise. To grasp causality this quickly, talent like that would make an outstanding scholar. I then mention that I can control ordinary animals at will. What would it take to control monsters? And so, our exchange continues. I never imagined that learning magic would be this difficult. A skilled wizard must not only know how to wield mana, they must understand the principles behind it and know exactly when to apply them. Then something comes to mind, and I ask Cain whether the Zahar bloodline has any unique abilities. Without much hesitation, he tells me, stealth and tracking. He tells me to try it now. I close my eyes and picture it in my mind, invisible to all eyes, my sound and scent undetectable. Slowly, my form begins to fade. I vanish right before Cain's eyes. Cain stares at the empty space. You did it! I can't see you at all. Then, after a moment, my form slowly reappears. He shakes his head in admiration. This ability is as terrifying as ever. During the war, it was what the knights of House Arabian feared most. It is powerful, but remember, it is not invincible. Now let me teach you some methods to train your magic. At that I ask